It is exactly 55 minutes past the hour. Welcome back to Sunday Live here at Citizen Television. On to our interview of the evening. And a lot of you may have a lot of questions when it comes to working abroad and getting that visa or that opportunity to migrate and work abroad. So joining us live in the studio, the Principal Secretary for Labour and Skills Development, Shadrach Mwadime, joins us. Karibu sana, PS.
Thank you for having me.
So do we have 250,000 jobs in Germany?
The reality is the job opportunities available in Germany are about 1 million.
Oh, come on.
Not even 250,000. No. You see, the assumption was that Kenya was going to be given a quota. But these are jobs available for the entire international labor market. So we can as well access more than 250,000. It's dependent on how organized we are to access these jobs.
So what are they looking for? Are so skilled and semi-skilled labor? I read about some 5 drivers who are already in Germany.
5?
What kind of... Yeah, 5. I read about some 5 drivers.
Not 5,000.
No, 5. What kind of skills are they looking for?
So they're looking for both skilled labor and unskilled labor. Unskilled labor in terms of, working in industries, working in also the hospitality industry as waiters and what have you, who will undergo some short-term training, but mostly skilled. So we're talking of healthcare workers, we are talking of nurses, we are talking of doctors, the whole lot in the entire health sector will actually access jobs in Germany. And not only that, even engineers will be able to access jobs there. They will be working in industries. IT experts too will have an opportunity of working in Germany. So this is a golden opportunity for our country, for our young people who have been unemployed for a long period of time to access these jobs.
P.S., let's face it, Europe's population is aging.
True.
Drastically.
Absolutely.
How are you going to facilitate our labor market to move into Europe? Because there are always those restrictions, those challenges when our young people are trying to access Europe.
So you're absolutely right. Europe has an aging population. Actually, the average age is 45 years. Kenya has a very youthful population. The average age is 18 years, 18 to 19. So the best way of young Kenyans accessing these jobs abroad is in a structured and organized way. That's the reason why we're signing bilateral labor agreements with these countries. We signed a bilateral labor agreement 2 weeks ago with Germany. We have already signed an MOU with Austria. We are pursuing a bilateral labor agreement with UK because the one that we have with them is limited to healthcare workers alone, but we're also pursuing one for professionals. And also Saudi Arabia, because I know there's a lot that people talk about Saudi Arabia, that we've been sending domestic workers. We are pursuing a bilateral labor agreement for professionals with Saudi Arabia. We are also pursuing BLAs with the provinces in Canada, with a number of provinces in Canada, because with Canada, owing to the fact that they have a devolved system of government, we can only sign BLAs with the provinces.
So how are you going to overcome the language barrier? For example, with Germany and Austria.
Let me tell you, Kenyans are very talented. You go to Coast Province, the hospitality industry, you will find a number of young people speaking foreign languages without even going to a language school. They have a very swift tongue.
Malindi is all Italian.
Malindi is all Italian. Actually, Watamu, half of it is English, half of it is Italian. But they also speak German. Some of them speak French. So in essence, I don't think it's going to be a challenge for young Kenyans to learn foreign languages. After all, every Kenyan speaks averagely 3 languages. I speak Taita, English, and Swahili. So learning another foreign language should not be a challenge at all in any way. We are trying to encourage universities to produce as many language teachers as possible. So we're having discussions with Kenyatta University and also Nairobi University so that they can be able to produce as many teachers who will then be able to pass over knowledge concerning these foreign languages to young people.
But is it a requirement, sorry, just as a follow-up, is it a requirement that I speak Germany for me to qualify for the, 251 million jobs that are available in Germany?
It's inevitable, particularly for the health sector. A doctor cannot be able to understand what the patient is ailing from unless there is easy communication between him or her and the patient. you know, and even in terms of prescription. So then language becomes critical, particularly for professionals. But for those who will be working in industries, it may not be a condition. Even IT experts, it may not be a condition. But the rest, where you're interacting with customers directly, it's inevitable.
Are we still sending mboches to Saudi Arabia? Because, you know, we have what? 250,000 Kenyans in Saudi alone?
True.
Domestic workers.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
House managers in
house
you
managers
have to be sensitive as it is now, politically sensitive. That's true. Yes, we are still sending some of them because the demand is extremely high. But you may be surprised. Saudi Arabia is looking for house managers who are quite educated, at least from 4 levels. Because the object is they want these domestic workers to teach their children English, you know, and eventually to have very polished children. And therefore, their aim in getting domestic workers in Kenya is basically not only to work, but also to teach their children.
And the conditions that they endure there, are they better now? Because we hear horror stories.
That's very true. The conditions are getting better. And government is getting involved in a very, very deep and comprehensive way. We intend to sign a bilateral labor agreement with Saudi Arabia that is human rights based. Purely human rights based, so that the issues of passports being confiscated, you know, people working nearly 24/7, you know, should come to an end. And we are pursuing this BLA with them. We are already having discussions with them. But the other strategies that we want to employ, we want to establish safe houses in Germany so that a Kenyan finding himself or herself in a distressing situation can be able to run somewhere and, you know, be able to get the assistance that one needs. Not only that, we're intending to deploy as many labor attaches as possible who can be able to trace where these Kenyans are, where they're working, you know, so that periodically they can go and ensure that their human rights are still being safeguarded as required. Not only that, we're intending to send lawyers to Saudi Arabia because I think the biggest challenge we've had is we have not analyzed their constitution, the legal framework, to know how Kenyans can be able to make use of it for their own advantage. So we'll be sending lawyers to study, you know, the legal framework. Philippines has done that and has succeeded greatly, by the way, so that Kenyan finding himself in a distressing situation will know how to ensure that the particular person who has caused, you know, has possibly harmed them physically can be taken to court. That is where we have gone wrong. But we have strategies that we are put in place now to counter that.
The biggest beef in Saudi Arabia is that the Kenyans who are in distress, they run to the embassy and there is no help. They find, there's little or no help.
That used to happen before. But the ambassadors who have been deployed by the Kenya Kwanza administration have been given only 2 agendas to pursue in those countries: trade and labor mobility, labor export. So as it is now, with the kind of training that they had to undergo before deployment, that has become a thing of the past, honestly. They are concerned about Kenyans out there, and I have not heard of any Kenyan in the diaspora complaining about the ambassadors who are deployed recently. Not only that, I mentioned labor attaches that we have in some countries. So ambassadors are working very closely with labor attaches who are responsible to me, you know, to ensure the welfare of Kenyans is taken care of.
And how are you dealing with rogue recruitment agencies where they take people to these countries and then leave them to their own devices once they get there?
Yeah, that has been a big problem, I must confess. But we have done a lot the last 2 years. Number one, we are revetting them. And the vetting committee is comprised of security, representatives from the security agencies. We also have representatives from Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Immigration, and of course Labor that chairs the vetting committee. So far, we have vetted 1,000 and only 500 have succeeded in having their licenses, you know, having their licenses to continue operating. But 500 have been deregistered. 500 have been set aside. And what we are doing is this. When Kenyans want to access jobs abroad, we're encouraging them to go to the National Employment Authority website. Because on the website, those private recruitment agencies that have been found wanting are actually in red. So we're telling Kenyans, don't deal with these PRAs. The ones whose status is okay are in black ink. Those, they can be able to source for employment opportunities through them. We're also encouraging PRAs to form associations so that they can self-regulate amongst themselves, you know. They can be able to pick out the rotten eggs within and bring this information to our attention so that then we can be able to take action. So those are the strategies we've put in place, and somehow we've been succeeding so far.
All right. No, go ahead.
There was a story in one of the local dailies about some rogue recruiter who showed up at President Ruto's Germany trip. He had made more than 1 billion shillings from local recruitment. Who's that guy and where is he now?
There's action being taken against him. How he made his way to Germany, we don't know. Because we did come up with a list of those that were to accompany the president. Those that we knew, you know, are not going to embarrass us at all in any way. Those whose legal status was okay. Yeah, and there were about 30 or so yeah, that went to Germany with the president. This particular individual, we don't know how he made his way there. We don't know how he was able to take photographs with some senior government officials. So that is something that we are investigating with the assistance of the police, of the security agencies, and hopefully we'll get to the bottom of it.
Let me ask you, so immigration is a big issue in Europe, and you talked about Germany, Austria. How are you preparing Kenyans who are migrating, labor migrating there? Is that grammatical?
It's okay, it's fine.
You get the point.
Yeah.
For some hostility in some areas, because even when you're engaging Kenyans who already live and work there, they want in some areas, we might not be as welcome.
Talk about racism.
Yes. The reality is Europe is in need of workers. That is the reality that we all have to appreciate. But number two, this is what we are telling them. Kenyans are not migrating into these countries permanently. We are sending them there for short-term contracts, 3 years, 4 years, maximum 5 years, because we want them to come back home. Why do we want them to come back home? Because we want them to come and invest in their country. You see, there are models that we can emulate. South Korea, for example, 30 years ago, was able to send their young people to Japan, to Germany, to Saudi Arabia. The object was for them to go and get technology as it obtained then, and to transfer this technology back home. South Korea can compete with Japan in terms of the products that they are producing currently. Be it smartphones, the Samsungs, you know, be it electronic gadgets, you know, the TVs, you know, fridge and what have you. Yeah. So, in essence, what we are aiming at is to take these young people abroad and then be able to transfer this technology back home, you know, so that our economy can expand. And then secondly, Kenyans are very patriotic. We have 4 million Kenyans in the diaspora. Last year, in accordance with the statistics that we received from the central bank, they were able to remit $4 billion US. That's about 663 billion Kenyan shillings, you know? That has surpassed even what we used to earn, you know, from agriculture as foreign exchange, from the hospitality industry, from tourism. It has surpassed all those sectors that we're dependent upon. So we are sending these young people, and we are loud enough to tell the Europeans that they are there for short-term contracts. They're not there to take over their country and to live there permanently. No. They are there for short-term contracts, then they come back home to invest in our country. If South Korea was able to succeed, even China, by the way, China closed their economy 40 years ago and sent their young people to Ivy League universities, you know, Harvard, Yale, and what have you. Then they were able to come back home with the technology that they were able to acquire then, and resources, because some of them immediately after college, they worked for some time. They came back home with resources. So we are bringing home technology and also capital, establish enterprises, and eventually make the economy expand. Now, you see, the aim is to reduce the unemployment rate. As these young people eventually come back home and establish farms, establish enterprises, they will be able to employ their younger brothers and sisters. So in essence, you will be addressing the problem of foreign exchange, the problem of, foreign direct investment will no longer be dependent upon people from the Western European countries, to invest back home. We'll be dependent upon our own children to come and invest home and eventually make the economy expand.
So let's talk nuts and bolts. If I need a job and I can speak German or not, and I'm a quick learner, where do I go? Is there a portal where I go and see these other opportunities that are available? How do you go about it?
Absolutely. So what we're encouraging young people, and we've gone out, to appraise them on how they can apply on these jobs. We want them to create accounts in the NIMS. That's the National Employment Authority Integrated Management System. Then they can match their skills with the job opportunities that have been uploaded. I gave a directive, Olive, early this year, when I took over the State Department of Labor and Skills Development, to all private recruitment agencies. Once they secure employment opportunities abroad, they must upload those job opportunities on the NIA portal. What the National Employment Authority then does is to consult with our ambassadors in the countries where these job opportunities are, so that they can confirm that those jobs are truly there.
And what's to assure us that when these people travel abroad for these jobs, they're not going to be living in undignified situations, that their welfare is going to be taken into consideration?
So that's why bilateral labor agreements are very critical. Kenyans have already gone ahead of us, and they have accessed these job opportunities there. But then, to protect their rights, we need bilateral labor agreements. And that's the reason why we are pursuing them as aggressively as we can.
The other thing is, once they do apply for these jobs, they have problems getting a passport. Something simple from Nyayo House. It takes weeks, if not months, to get a simple passport to travel.
That's a thing of the past, Jeff. I can tell you that with confidence.
I was there 2 weeks ago.
As it is now, if you are intending to migrate abroad, while applying, you can indicate the same, and I can assure you it will be processed within 7 days, because that's a directive from the president.
That is a lie.
No.
That's a lie.
It's a directive that was given. It's a directive that was given by the president, and you can even invite the PS immigration to come and confirm the same. They are pursuing it. Any Kenyan who is migrating abroad and applies and indicates the same will be given priority. I can assure you on that.
7 days.
7 days according to the directive that was given.
Na atapata passport.
Na atapata passport.
Aende apply for visa, na aende.
Na aende apply for visa, na kwa sababu tuko na BLA, it will be easier now even to get the work permit.
Are the embassies cooperating? That's the other thing.
Let me begin with the German embassy, because we signed a bilateral labor agreement with them the other day. They need to build capacity in terms of the officers. They need to process the work permits. So they're already on it. In fact, in our discussions with the German ambassador about 2 days ago, he did assure us that they are not going to have the capacity to process, hundreds of thousands. That's going to be a little bit difficult, but it's going to be organic. It will grow gradually. As they deploy more officers, it will be much easier for Kenyans then to be able to get the work permits.
All right, shall we take some questions?
Yeah, let's do that. A lot of people writing in.
Let's start with two. Yep. And here we have Ted Izoe, who says, please ask the PS, can a government take pride in exporting labor, or is it a sign of failure in creating systems that enable citizens to earn a living within their own country? And here is Mwanga. Can you see this one, Jeff?
Yeah.
Mwanga Ngisi, who says that site is talking about can't be reached.
Your site.
Yeah.
It may hang.
It may hang, yeah. I was actually in touch with my officers just a short while ago before coming here, and yes, they did tell me that they are having some problems with it as of now. But I believe by tomorrow it will be okay, because it was working in the morning.
This morning?
Yes, this morning it was working.
Okay, and the question about...
yes, is it a sign of the government failing?
No.
Locally?
The government has not failed. By the way, this administration was brought into power on the platform of improving, the standard of living of those who are at the bottom of the economic pyramid. So, labor mobility has been a strategy from the word go. If you look at statistics currently, out of 1 million graduates that we produce in a year, and I mean from primary school, secondary school, tertiary level, out of 1 million graduates, only 200,000 can be absorbed by the economy. And I'm talking of both the public and the private, sector. So the question is, do we allow these young people to stay out of a job until eventually the economy expands, or allow them go and work abroad for a short period of time so that by the time they are back, the economy will have expanded greatly? I mean, logic tells you that you cannot keep a human being waiting for an indefinite period of time. Yeah. After graduating from college, you want to develop yourself. You want to get married. You want to establish a family. You want to grow. So we cannot keep you somewhere and tell you to wait until the economy expands. It does not make sense at all in any way. We would rather look for opportunities where they are opening up. And as you well put it, even initially, the Western European countries have an aging population. And therefore, they have a problem in terms of getting people to work in their industries. So let's send our young people there. Let them go and work. By the time they come back, would have created a conducive environment for them, by the way, to invest that which they have been able to save out there. So we're thinking of tax holidays. We're, discussing these issues with Kenya Investment Authority to see how we can ensure their return on investment is as high as possible, because it is to the advantage of our economy. It will eventually, assist in creation of employment.
All right. Just a couple more questions here. This is Crispinas Adams, who's asking, what is the government doing to enable professionals, especially teachers, to secure accreditation required for them to work in the USA, UK, Canada, and Kuwait, where there is a shortage of teachers?
Okay, so you will be surprised. About 4 days ago, I had a meeting with the chairperson, Teacher Service Commission, to discuss matters accreditation for our teachers to work in these countries. And we've already agreed on how to go about it. We've put in place a technical team to look into it so that it can be done as fast as possible. It is wrong for us to produce teachers who eventually end up staying at home idle, whereas the opportunities that are opening up in US. So we'll be able to send them abroad. Again, as I said, this is not permanently. We want them to come back home with the know-how that they would have acquired then and be able to improve also on our education standards within.
All right, there's a comment here from COTU Secretary General Francis Atwoli. He says, Jeff, taking our young men and women to Saudi Arabia is tantamount to practicing modern slavery in the form of employment. How many of them come back in coffins?
The ones who have been coming back in coffins, incidentally, are those who have not gone through our system. In our analysis, we've discovered that. Most of them have been taken there by rogue recruitment agencies. That is the reality. And what we are doing with our domestic workers, even before they go to Saudi Arabia, is we ensure they go through pre-departure training, because it's critical. In collaboration with the International Labour Organization, we've come up with an Arab home at the NITA, National Industrial Training Authority Center in Mombasa, so that they can get to know that which they will encounter when they go there. They learn about the Arab culture, they learn about their way of life, they learn about their religion, they learn everything that they need to know before they go to Saudi Arabia. So that used to happen before, but with the strategies that we put in place, I believe we'll bring it to an end.
Well, We can only wish you the best, Bwana PS, because a lot of people out there think you people are just lying to us.
No, we're not lying. Honestly speaking, this government has serious people, technocrats, who are coming up with policies and strategies that are going to be to the benefit of Kenyans, that are going to work to their advantage. I can assure you about that. That is the reason why we're going out aggressively to tell them that which we are undertaking. And by the way, in terms of these policies and strategies, we're subjecting them to stakeholders, you know, because it's foolhardy to come up with a strategy that you have not consulted a Kenyan on, and yet it's going to affect him or her directly. And therefore, this time round, whatever draft strategies that we have come up with, we subject them to our stakeholders.
Shadrach Mwadime, Principal Secretary, State Department of Labor and Skills Development. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you, Jeff.
We appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it.
Nashukuru sana.
Asante sana.
Asante pia. That was an interview right there. Keep those questions coming in, comments at Koinange Jeff.
At Burrows at Citizen TV Kenya. And should they wish to X you?
Yes.
Your handle?
We are on Twitter. We are also on Facebook. We are also, you can get in touch with us through our website. Yeah, so there are many avenues really for you to get in touch with us.
Na we huna yako?
Yangu wacha ikae iwe ya kibinafsi. Wacha tufanye ya serikali.
Okay, sawa. #is Sunday Live.